Lighting up may not be the smartest thing you can do. Literally, we have the story.
Pretend violence could become real violence. We'll show you how.
And guess who's coming to dinner and why he's pulling for the Tar Heels to win a national championship. You're not going to believe this one.
Carolina Week starts right now.
From the UNC School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering Carolina in HD, this is Carolina Week.
Marijuana makes you dumb. Yes, it makes you high, but it can also eat away at your IQ. Good evening, I'm Alex Giles.
And I'm Avery Harper. At least that's the finding of a recent Duke University study. But reporter Jordan Powell introduces us to a UNC student who says that just isn't so.
Eric is just like a lot of sophomore students at UNC, except for one difference.
I smoke weed. I smoke every single day.
Eric started smoking in high school and says he can do just about everything while high, including schoolwork.
For like English essays and stuff like that, or analytical stuff though, I really think it does help, and that's part of the reason why I smoke before I do some homework, or before I read sometimes, or before I go to class. It makes the class more interesting sometimes.
He says it even helps him on exams.
I've made really good grades on tests, completely stoned the entire test.
But a recent study reports that Eric is at risk of having a lower IQ because of his marijuana use. Dr. Madeline Meyer, a researcher at Duke University, is the head author of the study. She was not available for an interview, but says the results show, quote, individuals who started using cannabis in adolescence and used it for years afterward showed an average decline in IQ of 8 points. Recent trends, however, suggest that this age group is smoking weed more and more. A study from the University of Michigan shows that marijuana use among adolescents has risen 4 years running and is currently at a 30-year peak. Eric is a double major in economics and Italian and has a GPA well over 3.0. When asked about findings that he is being negatively affected by smoking, Eric is very candid.
They're wrong, that's what I have to say. I mean, I'm proving that wrong, I guess. And I feel like everybody can.
Down the road, he knows he might have to quit smoking to get a job, and he says this is not a problem for him.
Obviously, weed isn't worth your career. That's ridiculous.
Until then, however, Eric plans on continuing to smoke weed and disproving Dr. Meyer and her study. From Chapel Hill, I'm Jordan Powell.
And Eric asked that we not use his last name. Chapel Hill police are searching tonight for a man who assaulted 2 women and fired a handgun on Franklin Street. It happened near Walgreens and the Library Bar around 2 a.m. According to Chapel Hill police, the man assaulted the 2 women, then pulled a gun and fired 1 shot. No one was hit. There were only minor injuries from the assault. Police say after firing his weapon, the man took off in the direction of Cosmic Cantina. According to the campus directory, the victims are not UNC students.
For those of you addicted to class shopping and you know who you are, there's a reprieve tonight. The UNC Board of Governors is leaving the drop ad policy alone for the time being. The board had been thinking about reducing the 8-week drop period to 10 days. I found out how this policy affects students.
Ilyasa Shabazz has worked hard to graduate in May, a year ahead of schedule. It's a choice that could save her thousands of dollars in tuition costs. But Shabazz's strategic moves might not pay off. She could have to delay her graduation date. She wasn't able to enroll in a final course to complete her degree. It was full.
If I can't get in, then I'll just have to wait until December.
Shabazz hopes students enrolled will drop the class in time for her to add it. But there's no guarantee. Students like Natalia Perez, UNC senior and Carolina Week director, may compound the problem. Perez has enrolled in the same class 7 semesters in a row, only to drop it, many times after the ad deadline.
I'm just selfish when it comes to that.
Shabazz has a word for students like Perez who take classes without the intention of finishing.
Please get out and let someone that needs it get in.
In order to address the behavior of students like Perez, the UNC Board of Governors has proposed a much shorter drop ad period. Now, students have about 8 weeks to drop a class. Under the proposed policy, students will only have 10 days after the start of a semester to drop a class. UNC School of Journalism and Mass Communication Senior Associate Dean Chris Rausch acknowledges the issue.
You should really only sign up for a class that you really are sure that you want to take. I see a lot of class shopping going on.
But Perez supports class shopping, enrolling in a course without necessarily having the intention of finishing it.
It's essential because we're in college, we don't know what classes we like, and a 2-month period for us to actually get accustomed to the class, the workload, and the material, I think that's great for students.
And despite her situation, Shabazz says more students benefit from a longer drop ad period.
It would not help the majority of students to shorten it because you're now asking us to decide in 10 days if we're prepared for a course.
Student government is asking those opposed to sign a petition to the drop proposal. The Board of Governors is set to vote on the idea in January.
The issue has been around for a while and it's back. Opposite-sex roommates. And last night, students gathered at the Campus Y for a public sleepover in support of gender-neutral housing. The Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Center hosted this event. For supporters, it comes down to providing all students with a safe and harassment-free environment. Musicians entertained the crowd. Some even performed in their pajamas. LGBTQ advocates are presenting a housing proposal to the Board of Trustees this afternoon.
This is not going to go away, you know, and we will keep fighting and keep educating and keep making the case.
News just in, the Board of Trustees unanimously voted to move the proposal for gender-neutral housing forward. We will bring you more news on the matter in the coming weeks. Who should be the next chancellor of UNC? That's a question tonight for a search committee, but it's also a question for students, and the committee wants to know what you think. The UNC Chancellor Search Committee held multiple forums last week to hear what community members, faculty, and students want from the university's next leader. The meetings didn't have huge turnouts, but those in attendance, like first-year Jake Bernstein, wanted to give their input on what makes a good chancellor.
I really like seeing someone that's out there and that goes to a lot of events and that I see as part of the community and not some far-off business leader who we can't associate with.
But are all students like Bernstein? Do they all care about who the next chancellor should be?
I mean, to be completely honest, I really don't understand what the position of chancellor really means, so at this point I really don't. It really doesn't make a difference to me, so.
And does the search committee really care what students think? Committee member and student body president Will Limenstall says members do.
Some of them have been on committees like this before, and I was asking them, what to expect of the forums, and every single one that I talked to said that, the most impactful statements that they've ever heard have been made by students at the student forums.
Committee member and faculty chairwoman Jan Boxell is holding office hours this week to hear faculty opinions on the chancellor search. She says it's important for students and faculty to work together in times like this.
It's not students, staff, faculty, and administrators. We're all in it together. We're not adversarial. We're not fighting with one another. We're together as partners. And I think we need to, if we recognize that, we're going to get a lot more done.
Although not all students are on board with Boxell's idea of togetherness, Jake Bernstein seems sold.
Am I going to directly see and experience what the chancellor does? I don't know. But the chancellor is going to embody the university and how the university is in the future. And, I feel like I'm part of the Carolina community now, and I really enjoy this school, and I think everybody should take pride in that.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Alex Giles. The university is also looking for a new vice chancellor and provost, but Holden Thorpe says these searches have been put on hold so that the new chancellor can select his or her own team.
After a heated debate, members of Student Congress passed a bill Tuesday getting rid of the student body vice president's annual stipend. The $2,400 allowance will instead be given to various student organizations. The bill passed 22-9, but that may not be the end of it. Student body president Will Limenstall says he will veto the decision. Student Congress can override a veto with 2/3 majority.
Gamers beware, the violence in this video game could cross the line from fantasy to reality.
Details of a new study next.
Connect with us online by liking the Carolina Week Facebook page and following us on Twitter at Carolina Week UNC.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
Video games. Maybe you play them, but have you ever thought about how they affect you?
Especially the violent ones. Reporter Brianna Harper meets up with a UNC gamer to find out more.
Gunshots and explosions.
Well, there you go. First step.
That's what Grant Canada likes in a video game.
I think that they're just fun. I don't really look into the violent aspect of it, I guess. I don't know. I just play them.
Canada is among 70% of Americans who play video games. But is it really all fun and games? Studies show violence like this may influence more crime and aggression, like in the case of Norway's largest mass killing. The shooter claims he trained for the assault by playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The question now, how well do these studies apply to the average gamer?
I'll be the first to say that I get mad playing video games, but I'll never let that affect my real world.
Unlike Canada, there are some people who integrate aspects of gaming into their real lives. People like Nick Senior.
I just like games. I think not enough people are willing to play games and stuff.
Senior is involved in the Humans vs. Zombie game played at UNC each year.
They encourage teamwork, and I've met a lot of my friends through this game.
A game that involves roaming through campus and shooting people with Nerf guns. It may seem like innocent fun, but it's hard not to recognize the similarity to popular video games such as Resident Evil and Call of Duty that share a mutual theme of violence. In stores like this GameStop, there are walls filled with violent video games like this. But for those people who choose to buy these types of games, it's not always easy to determine if they will or will not be exposed to more aggressive behaviors. UNC Violence Prevention Coordinator Robert Pleasant says other factors affect aggression. Violent video games aren't the only issue.
Masculinity, access to guns, media influences, home upbringing, mental illness, all these things can come together.
Canada says the violence in his video games is simply that, a game and nothing more. Reporting in Chapel Hill, I'm Brianna Harper.
The last day of classes is approaching, and although you may be tired of lectures, you might not want to miss this one. Rapper Common is coming to campus and will deliver a lecture entitled Greatness. Common has been a rapper for more than 20 years and is recognized by some hip-hop fans as one of the greatest lyricists of all time. Outside of rapping, he's also performed spoken word, acting, and has hosted lectures across the country. His lecture will be in Memorial Hall on December 5th. Student tickets will go on sale November 26th and are $10. The general public will go on sale December 3rd and will be $20. Students can buy one ticket per one card, and each student can use 2 one cards. All tickets will be available at the Memorial Hall box office and online at memorialhall.unc.edu.
It's no secret that it's becoming more and more expensive to be a Tar Heel. But next year, Greek students will find themselves paying more to wear their letters. Michael Whiteman has the story.
At first glance, Samantha Travers is your typical college athlete. She attends classes, studies every day, and suits up in Carolina blue to play defense for the field hockey team.
We apologize for the technical difficulties. Veterans Day was this week, and Chapel Hill residents and students honored the men and women in uniform at a ceremony on campus. Veterans stood as their theater of action and date of service was recognized. The Army, Air Force, and Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps at UNC sponsored the annual event. This was one of several Veterans Day ceremonies held in Chapel Hill. Your weather forecast should be coming up next. The Army, Air Force, and Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps at UNC sponsored the annual event. This was one of several Veterans Day ceremonies held in Chapel Hill. Your weather forecast is coming up next.
If I had asked, will I lose control on meth? Can meth really make you violent? Or if I had asked, will meth make me steal from my own family? I wouldn't be asking my brother.
Where's your money? Where is it? Give it to me! Give it!
My name's Steve. My family's lived in this neighborhood for years. Recently, things got so tight, we had to go to our local food bank for help. I lost a lot of sleep worrying about what the neighbors might think. That is until I saw them there, too. How'd I do, Steve?
A little stiff. You could have done a little better.
What? Come on. You know, I have an Academy Award.
Yeah, but not for playing me.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
Sorry for technical difficulties. I'm meteorologist Katie McGee, and welcome back to Carolina Week. Also, welcome back to that fall weather we seem to miss this past weekend. The glorious weather we were spoiled with in the 70s is gone now, possibly for good. This next week, we'll be taking a look at what is cooler weather in store for us, as well as what appears to be some gusty days we're going to be experiencing with a very significant wind chill. We'll also be taking a look at when and where we can expect rain this weekend. Looking at our current satellite image, we can see relatively clear skies over central North Carolina, yet with all that sunshine, it's still pretty cool. And that's because of this cloud mass we can see primarily up close to our east. But as we take a broader view, we can see it primarily to the south, especially in South Carolina and Georgia. That's an association with a low pressure system, which is indicated by the L on our surface map, as well as this cold front that has recently blown through, which really gave us a change in our temperatures these past few days. As we look ahead at tomorrow, we can see that low pressure system pushing on upwards straight for us, and that will bring with it a lot of precipitation that will affect a majority of South Carolina and Georgia, yet not central North Carolina as much. Looking ahead at tomorrow evening, we can see it approaching a little closer, still with clear skies, a couple clouds expected, yet still that rain staying mostly to our south. Looking ahead at tonight, we can see temperatures expected in the mid-30s, mostly cloudy skies, and then winds expected 5 to 10 miles per hour tonight. Tomorrow, those clouds are expected to build throughout the day as we see that low pressure system creep on up towards us, and then we'll also see a chance of showers as that starts coming our way. Looking ahead, breaking tomorrow down just a little further for you, around 8 a.m. we can see temperatures in the low 40s with clouds building, getting only up to the mid-40s around noon and then dropping down to the low 40s by 8. Looking ahead this weekend, it's not a home football game, but if you're going up to Charlottesville, Virginia to see us take on the University of Virginia, that's a 7:30 game, so tailgate will be at 53 degrees, kickoff 45, post-game 40 degrees. Looking ahead at our 5-day forecast, we can see temperatures again 53 tomorrow with a slight chance for rain, and temperatures staying cool throughout the week with our greatest chance for rain these next couple of days on Sunday. So we're not going to be getting anywhere near 60 again for the Wilds.
Great. Thanks. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you, guys.
A 24-hour library is something most students at UNC, NC State, and Duke take for granted, but not all North Carolina University students have this convenience. Reporter Maeva Mitchell takes us to North Carolina Central with this story.
North Carolina Central Student Body Vice President Carmelo Montalvo is stepping to build enthusiasm for homecoming weekend, but he's also trying to build enthusiasm for a 24-hour campus library.
And why do you think that is?
A mixture between priorities, actual budget limitations, and what is perceived that the students actually need and want.
Carmelo organized a 24-hour library forum. He invited the library director, campus security, faculty senate, and the student body. Library Director Theolosa Shields told the students it came down to dollars.
Where our budget was cut 10%.
Students lined up with questions for Shields.
Looking at the best interest of the students or cost or like what's the game plan? To do everything the state says or to do everything you feel is right?
The forum produced results. In less than a week, the hours were extended, but it's not 24/7. Instead of closing at 11 p.m., it now closes at 1 a.m. And still, some students aren't happy.
It was a good Band-Aid, but I'm overall not. I'm satisfied with the attitude that administration took and the initiative that they took to move them so quickly from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. again.
Montalvo says he and other students will continue to press on until the library is open 24 hours a day. Reporting in Durham, I'm Maeva Mitchell.
What's this rhino doing inside a Tar Heels house? We'll tell you after the break.
Don't go away. You won't want to miss it.
My life is full of statistics. Thing is, I could have dropped out of school and become one myself, but I didn't because I had people that believed in me. Here's another statistic. 7,000 students drop out every school day. That's one every 26 seconds. It's time that students know that we believe in them.
Inspire a student and share your message of support at boostup.org.
Are you getting this, honey?
Oh, prime time. We are rolling.
All right, Mama's gonna bring it home. Mama's gonna bring it home. Okay.
Come on, watch this guy.
Oh, backwards.
Oh, don't. Oh.
It went into Bob and Carol's yard. Oh, no? Okay, Yeah. here it goes.
Oh, no!
Challenge your kids to be active and eat healthy.
All right, let's see what you can do. Let's go.
They might surprise you.
Let's go.
Search We Can for more ideas on how you and your kids can get healthy together.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm Will Reimer. You don't want to miss this next story. The field hockey team's playing Syracuse in the Final Four this weekend. Natalia Perez met one member of the team who had a rhino as a roommate.
At first glance, Samantha Travers is your typical college athlete. She attends classes, studies every day, and suits up in Carolina blue to play defense for the field hockey team. But growing up was anything but typical for this Zimbabwe native.
I was brought up into like a very different lifestyle. Like I've always had strange pets in my house. I've had a hyena, I've had, a cheetah, I've had like a couple ostriches, a wildebeest. Like I've always grown up completely surrounded by animals. And that's what my parents' entire life is about.
Travers' family runs an 11,000-acre game preserve. That's just a few miles smaller than all of Chapel Hill.
My farm's huge. It's 11,000 acres. We have 4 of the big 5. We have the elephants, the rhinos, the buffalo, we have lions.
The list goes on and on. But for Travers, one particular pet touched her heart, a cheetah named Boise.
He was amazing. He would literally, come jump on your bed and lick your face. He wouldn't hurt a fly.
Animal Planet was so fascinated with the Travers' family that they did an hour-long documentary on a black rhino named Tatenda and his transition from adopted son to wild animal.
We introduced him to the other rhinos because how would he know what he was? He'd only been around humans and the other animals he'd seen. So I got to experience that entire thing, which was it was great. And then you see him, he still knows exactly who my mum is, but now he knows he's a rhino.
There may no longer be a rhino sharing the breakfast table with Travers here in Chapel Hill, but she says her pet gerbil and stuffed animals will have to do. In Chapel Hill, I'm Natalia Perez.
How do you score 50 points and lose? Simple. You give up 68. UNC and the Yellow Jackets combined for 1,085 yards of offense, 16 touchdowns, and 118 points. That's the most points ever in an ACC football game. Ever. It's almost 1 point every 2 minutes, and a touchdown, like this one from Georgia Tech's Tevin Washington, every 4 minutes. While the teams went for more than 1,000 yards Saturday, Gio Bernard became just the first Carolina running back to have back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons since Natrone Means did it back in 1992 and 1993. Bernard had only 78 yards on 16 carries against Georgia Tech, and with the season he's had, you can call that an off day. but he now has 1,008 yards on the ground this season. And Duke and maybe NC State are the football team's biggest rivals. But UVA is the oldest. The South's oldest rivalry dates back to 1892, more than 60 years before the formation of the ACC. The two teams have played annually since 1919, and as Katie said, the next game is 7:30 p.m. tomorrow on ESPN. And the rivalry heated up in 1997 when Virginia native Ronald Curry decommitted from UVA and joined the Tar Heels. Since the day Curry committed, the Heels are 4-10 against the Cavaliers, but Carolina's won the last two. And basketball's back. After losing 4 starters to the NBA, the men's basketball team has a new look this season on the court, but there's a new member on the bench too. Well says it's deja vu all over again for new assistant coach Hubert Davis.
And he gives them the ability to shoot from the outside and score down low.
A few months ago, former Tar Heel and NBA player Hubert Davis was here for ESPN, but now he's back at Chapel Hill as an assistant coach on UNC's men's basketball team. That's after being called into Coach Roy Williams' office during the summer.
He said, "I'd like you to be a part of my staff," and he talked about 5 minutes after that, and I can't remember anything that he said.
Davis was a star for the Heels from 1988 to 1992. He played 12 years in the NBA and has spent 4 years as a top college basketball analyst with ESPN. But when Williams invited Davis back to UNC, it wasn't a hard decision.
And as soon as Coach asked me, I wanted to say yes. It was just yes.
Davis says he's comfortable relating to players and offering his three-point shooting expertise. But when he had to call plays in the game against Florida Atlantic, things were different.
That was crazy. I was like, oh my goodness. I had to draw up, I had a diagram during halftime. That was my first diagram that I'd get up on the board, and it was interesting.
In fact, the whole experience of being a Tar Heel again has been overwhelming for Davis.
I've told people it has been a gift that saying thank you is not enough. It's almost, stop it, it's too much.
But there's no time to stop. He's just getting started. In Chapel Hill, I'm Julian Caldwell.
And you know what, Alex? The Heels have played 3 games, 1 exhibition, 2 regular season games. They're shooting just 10 of 43 from the three-point line. That's 23%. So if Hubert Davis is going to improve the three-point shooting, he needs to get started right away.
I'll say, this is my last chance to see a national championship. You know what? I really want to see one.
We're going to hope for the best for basketball season. Thanks, Will.
You're welcome.
Thanks. The votes are in, and the crown did fit.
Meet our new royal couple after the break.
If you have a story idea, call Carolina Week at 919-843-8292 or email us at carolinaweek@unc.edu. And if you have questions about this program, write to us at Carolina Week, Campus Box 3365, UNC-CH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina 27599. Be sure to check out Carolina Week online at carolinaweek.org.
For those dealing with the daily struggles of caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community with experts and other caregivers to help us better care for ourselves and the ones we love.
After a long week of campaigning, UNC has new royalty walking around campus.
Mr. and Miss UNC were crowned during halftime of the homecoming football game. Last year's winners, Holly Roberts and Carolina Week's own Clint Hanna, were there to award this year's homecoming king and queen. Colleen Daly won Miss UNC. Daly is a global studies and Spanish double major, and her service project is Embody UNC, a peer counseling group about eating disorders. Joe Petruzzi was crowned homecoming king. The history major will work with Operation Military Kids to bring children of servicemen and women to Tar Heel sporting events. Joe Petruzzi and Colleen Daly, your 2012 Mr. and Miss UNC.
That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thank you and goodbye.